Faisal bhai, we're live.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Islam.
So today the date is 10:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The date is May 13th, 2025.
Faisal bhai, we're live.
You're live?
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. So the date is May 13th, 2025. The goal today is that we will be going through a presentation with Furqan Saeed, who is RQF Level 6 student. The topic that he has is pretty interesting. I'm going to go through the topic right now. Let me open the file. What happened? The file was open over here. Okay. The topic is Platform Engineering and DevSecOps for Secure, Scalable Serverless Architectures on AWS and Azure. Okay. This is an RQF Level 6 exam, which allows you to have secure 360 credits. It's equivalent to a bachelor's. And we are going through a lot of processes in terms of enhancing this qualification further through Al-Razak, through off-call and whatnot. So there's a lot of things going on. This topic explores platform engineering and DevSecOps for securing and scaling serverless architectures on AWS and Azure. As a student of RQF Level 6, it is expected from you that you'll be able to propose a design, a platform that automates the deployment, security, and scaling of serverless applications, integrating security practices throughout the lifecycle. There are three core objectives. The first is implement platform engineering principles to automate the management and deployment of serverless applications, integrate DevSecOps practices into serverless deployment lifecycle, ensuring continuous security and compliance. And the third is ensure scalability and cost efficiency by leveraging serverless services on AWS and Azure. There are 6 key areas of focus that you need to present in your presentation: DevOps, SysOps, AI, cyber. Ask you 25 to 30 minutes, but I will ask you certain questions regarding the topic. Altogether, 10 questions. Okay? Yes, Furqan, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, you may share your screen, please. And once you're ready, I will start the timer.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready, and I will start the timer.
Okay.
You may start now.
Today's my topic is design a scalable and secure platform for serverless application using platform engineering and DevSecOps practices. My objective is design a scalable and secure serverless infrastructure by merging platform engineering with DevSecOps methodologies to automate deployment processes, improve security measure, maintain continuous compliance, and enhance both performance and cost effectiveness. So now first we discuss the core subject platform engineering, in which we start with infrastructure as code. Infrastructure as code, automating infrastructure with code helps make sure that deployment are fast, consistent, and repeatable every time. It's a great way to save mistakes and time. Next is serverless function, in which I use AWS Lambda and Azure function to manage serverless apps, which are easily deploy them with minimum effort. Next one is also important, API management. API management make it simple to handle and route API requests with feature like rate limiting, authentication, version control to keep everything running efficiently. Uh, for infrastructure as code, I use tool as AWS CloudFormation, and for Azure, I use Azure Resource Manager. And for APIs, for AWS, I use AWS API Gateway, and for Azure, I use Azure API Management. Uh, there is a flowchart in which I try to show platform engineering image with security, how it's flow, like code development, next automatic scanning, security validation, next with deployment with access control, continuous monitoring. This will show the outcome of secure and resilient platform. Next, my topic is next slide is DevSecOps, and which first is shift left security. Shift left integration is incorporating security into CI/CD, continuous integrity and continuous deployment pipeline from the start to identify the vulnerabilities before the deployment. Next one is IAM and security, in which show that implement the least privilege access, role-based access control, and zero trust security model to protect resources. Next one is automated testing, uh, SAST and S. SAST stand for static application security testing, which are validate the quality of code. And next is dynamic application security testing, ensure the security of web. For shift left security, I use the tools AWS Code Pipeline for AWS, and for Azure, I use Azure DevOps. And for IAM and security, I use for AWS as AWS IAM, and for Azure, I use Azure Active Directory. And for SaaS and DAST, I use SonarQube for SaaS and OWASP for DAST. There is a flowchart in which I try to show the DevSecOps practices. It's mean that security embed in every step of the development lifecycle. Like it's build in testing and deployments, monitoring, all are with embedded security. Next one is observability and AI-driven monitoring. First one is real-time monitoring. Real-time monitoring with AI alert help catches issues early and keeping performance secure. Next is predictive scaling. AI predict traffic increases or as well as decreases and find the performance problem and helping improve scaling and resources use better resource management. For real-time monitoring, I use tool AWS CloudWatch, and for Azure, I use Azure Monitor. And for predictive scaling, I use AWS X-Ray for AWS, and for Azure, I use Azure Application Insights. There is a flowchart in which I try to show how it's work. Like first is one is monitor resource utilization, then AI observe, then if predict traffic spikes, it will optimize the scaling, adjust the resource spans, then it's a result of cost optimization. Then there is a continuous loop for continuous improvement. Next one is cost optimization. First one is cost management, like use AI tools to track and predict resource usage, then adjust allocation to manage cost effectively. Next one is optimization strategies. AI predict traffic spikes and detect the performance issue, enabling the optimized scaling and better resource management. For cost management, I use AWS Cost Explorer, and for Azure, I use Azure Cost Management. Next one is optimization strategies. AI predict traffic spikes and detect the performance issue, enabling the optimized scaling and better resource management. For this, I use AWS Savings Plan, and for AWS and Azure Reservation for Azure. There's a flowchart in which I try to show how cost of optimization happens. First we monitor traffic pattern, then AI power predicted, then if predict low traffic period, then it will auto scale resources and then adjust to optimal level. So it will the result of reduce underutilization. Then there is a continuous learning loop. Next one, very important, is cloud security. First one is data is very important. So data security, make sure your sensitive data is safe by using strong encryption method. In AWS, we use AWS Key Management Service, and in Azure, we use Azure Key Vault. For automatic compliance, follow rules like GDPR, HIPAA, SOC 2, PCI DSS by using automated tools that help apply and manage these rules. For this automated compliance, I use AWS config for AWS. And next one is Azure policy for Azure, Microsoft Azure. There's also I make flow chart in which I try to show how it works. Like first we define compliance rules. Then we monitor resources. If there is a non-compliance, then then it will trigger automatic remediation, then apply remediation action, then verify compliance. So there is also a loop, continuous learning loop. Next one, I try to make a serverless architecture which are secure, scalable, uh, in which I use I use AWS VPC and Azure Serverless VNet. So if we apply this model on real world scenario, like Uber Eats, there is a food company. So if we'll apply this model on this, then it will show how it works. It's like if food company is global, so yeah, in USA and European and both. So I use two VPS and VNet like AWS serverless for USA because it's famous in USA, and Azure in European Union because some compliances of GDP are like prefer the Azure serverless. So it will show like first developer the microservices, then it will push code in Git repository. Then it will trigger the AWS code pipeline and Azure DevOps, which are handling the CI/CD process. If the customer is from like USA, the code will run on AWS Lambda deployment, and if the customer is from European Union, then the code will run on Azure function deployment. First one is Amazon Web Application Firewall I use to protect APIs. Then it will go on application load balancer. Application load balancer which sends the APIs to the serverless function on AWS Lambda function, which deal on business logics, AWS CloudWatch logs, and AWS DevOps group who monitor and detect the real-time anomalies. And for policies for compliance, I use AWS config to stay compliant. And for identity and secret management, I use AWS IAM and KMS services. Then auto scaling, if there is peak hour like lunch or dinner, it will handle. Next is similar Azure serverless, in which I also use Azure front door web application firewall, which is just like I already told you that it's save the APIs and then it will send to Azure application gateway like application load balancer on AWS, which send request on Azure function, which AWS Lambda function deal with the business logics, in which Azure Monitor Logs and Azure Monitor AI Insights detect the issues early. And for compliance, I use Azure Policy, which automatically like remediate the if there is non-compliant. And for identity and secret management, I use Azure AD and Azure Key Vault, as well as like auto scaling in AWS, and also use auto scaling. So for like if there's spikes in lunch and dinner. I done my presentation.
That's it. That was pretty fast. So it took you 13 minutes to wrap up the presentation. Okay. Let's start the Q&A session. Bismillah.
Yes.
Okay. So in the Azure serverless architecture diagram, right? You can stop the screen please, if you can, because I have this presentation on my side. Give me 1 minute. Okay. So let's go through that. In the Azure serverless architecture diagram, how does Azure policy interact with both auto scaling and Azure Monitor AI Insights? Can you provide a plausible real-time compliance enforcement scenario? I mean, what do you see? How would it react in a plausible enforcement scenario? How would you do all of these things?
I assign policies which interact with the Azure resources like Azure DevOps Insights and other things which I will like to integrate.
Yeah, so explain to me in the Azure serverless architecture, which is running on Kubernetes containers, how does Azure policy interact with both auto scaling and auto monitor? You know, the scaling, the horizontal and vertical scaling,
Yes,
and
it
the
is scale up.
auto and the Azure Monitor AI Insights. You know, give me a real-time compliance enforcement scenario. Give me something, because you talked about Uber, you talked about a couple of other things. Give me how would, in these circumstances, Azure Policy Interact will behave with auto scaling in Azure AI Monitor. How will it go down?
Yeah, if auto scaling, like if there is traffic spikes up or traffic spikes down, it will show the alerts. So it will auto scaling. So will it help to auto scaling. Next one, that's why I handle the auto scaling with Azure Policy.
Yes.
Uh,
How would you interact with that? How would that trigger actions?
if I assign policy, that the alerts will come, and if auto scaling, it will happen just as show as a name that it's auto scale is as far as you pay more go model, like so it's automatically. But if the Azure policy, it will come the alerts and other thing with to auto scaling.
Okay, let's jump on to the other question. Okay. Relax, Furqan Saeed. This is going in a different direction. What is the primary benefit of using infrastructure as a code in platform engineering for serverless deployments? What is the primary benefit? Give me the
In
primary.
fact, in infrastructure as code, in which way managing and provisioning and with code rather than with a manual setup. So it's easy, fast, and consistent.
Good. Okay, that was a good answer. It ensures fast, consistent, and repeatable deployments, right? Reducing
Repeatable.
manual
Yes.
error Enhancing automation.
Yeah,
Good answer.
it
This
is.
answer was not good. This is a good answer. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I will. We will do
Your
back
voice
and
is hanging
forth,
a little
right?
bit.
So I'll throw some punches at you. My voice is coming out very okay because I can hear, like I can see everything's fine. But if you cannot hear me, ask me and I will repeat the question, okay?
Thank you.
What tools are paired in the presentation to enforce least privileged access in the cloud environments? You mentioned multiple tools. So
Yes. For AWS, I use AWS IAM, and for Azure, I use Azure Policy. And for this, least privilege access.
have you started doing labs, Al-Razak part one?
No.
Why?
Oh,
What is the
this.
reason? Well, you're busy. Okay. Are you doing a job somewhere?
Yes.
Where? What, as what?
It's basically it's a startup online, like open digital agency.
Okay. So what is your title?
Uh, we in startup I have to do many things, so it's not a specific task I do.
So are you
I
managing IT, cloud? What are you doing?
no, it's about a digital agency, digital marketing related things.
Okay. Okay. All right. So how does CI/CD pipeline integrate with AWS and Azure in the provided architecture diagrams that you showed me? Explain to me the process.
With like it for it AWS, I use AWS code pipeline, and for this and for Azure DevOps, for Azure, uh, Azure AWS code pipeline. We basically only deal with the C and CID part on AWS, and Azure, like Azure DevOps, is a full tool set which deal with DevOps.
Okay. What is the difference between SAST and DAST in the context of your presentation?
Okay. SAST, like if in my main visual logic is depend on AWS Lambda, so we take example on this. Like if AWS, we check the infrastructure as code before the deployment, so it's will SAST. If the AWS Lambda, we test after the deployment on running, so it will test.
So static code analysis, application security testing, performance analyzes code at rest for
Yes,
vulnerability,
and
and the dynamic one test running applications to detect real-time vulnerabilities, right?
yes.
Good. All right. So explain to me why an organization should have an API gateway. Why?
Okay. API gateway is very important because it will route the request. Like if there is no API gateway, there is many chances of attacking, and some if there is many like traffic, there are also chance of crashing applications. That will use API gateway.
Are you sure? Is that the primary purpose of API gateway? Want to take another stab at it?
Like it's deal with rate limiting.
Yes. So again, explain to me what is the primary purpose of API gateway?
Yeah.
You can mention 4 or 5 things very easily, you know.
Yes. Like rate limiting, authentications, authorization.
Yes. Now it's a better answer. Okay. So API gateway, it handles request handling, routing, rate limitation, authentication, security, managing versions, enhancing
Version controls. Yes.
security, all of those things, right? All of
Yes.
them. Okay. Using the security tool chain diagram that you mentioned, uh, it says describe can you describe to me the embedding of security in each SDLC phase and how feedback loops back into the development? How would you do that? What is meant by SDLC, first of all? What is SDLC?
Software development lifecycle.
So you're working in an agency and you are developing these applications, right? They are going through software development lifecycle. How would you embed the security tool chain diagram that you showed in your presentation? How would you embed security in each SDLC process? And
Like
how feedback loop, and how this feedback loops back into the development? How would you do that?
okay, like it will embed security in that is the primary purpose of DevSecOps, that embedding security in every SDLC. So like in building test, in building like uh, in building process, and like deployment process, and delivery process, in every step we imply security. So like it automate the loop I use for like for continuous learning, like it's security is not for one time only. I use loop for that continuous automated continuous security.
Okay.
Like in testing, building, deployment, and development process, security is embedded, and I use loop. So that security is not one time. It will automatically security scans and because my topic is to make a secure platform. So that's why I think loop is necessary for security. Yes,
Okay.
automated security scans.
Based on the full serverless architecture shown in the final slide that you have, if you have to simulate a full outage of of Azure Monitor logs, explain how observability would be reestablished without data loss. I'm going to explain to you. There's full serverless architecture, the pods, that were providing Azure Monitor all the logs. That service goes down for 1 hour, 2 hours, multiple hours. And now you have no observability. You can't see what is happening with the applications. Are they up, down? We don't know. How would you reestablish with the whole observability without data loss?
Uh, for this, I use AWS SQS for this. Basically it's a scaling strategy used by biggest company. Like I heard in Capital One, I think it's financial company. It uses Amazon SQS and with Lambda. So first message turn into Amazon SQS on like a SKU-based scaling, like basically. So for if you use this, so we don't lose the data. Oh, no.
I mean, you fall back to the Azure Applications Insight for basic monitoring, concurrently active log shipping, because log shipping got interacted. You mentioned
Yes.
queue. What are some of the protocols used in the queue-based, strategies where like the data, even if the packet gets dropped, they will be queued up in that protocol? What do you call that protocol? Or what do you call that service on AWS? Okay, let's go with that. I'm going to give you a hint, right? Have you ever kept rabbits?
Yes. Can you repeat?
Have you ever seen a rabbit?
Yes.
Do you know who Bugs Bunny is? Everyone knows Bugs Bunny, right? You know
Yes,
Bugs
sir.
Bunny? You know
Yes.
Bugs Bunny, right? Okay. So everyone knows Bugs Bunny. We have been seeing Bugs Bunny since we were kids, right? So what does Bugs Bunny do best?
I didn't understand your question.
If there is a rabbit, what does he does best? What can a rabbit do the best that humans can't do?
Like they have spirit, speed. fast.
They're fast. They run fast, right? So I'm going to ask, so that's a hint. What do you call that protocol that does the messaging queue? On AWS. You know what it is called?
I remember like scaling strategy use AWS. I think I don't know if I don't confirm.
I was trying to come up with some more jokes. So the messaging protocol, you said messaging queue, right? It happens so that the data loss doesn't happen. This
Yeah.
is known as Rabbit MQ brokers, right?
Okay.
Or MQTT service, right? The messaging queue service, right? This is one of the primary services that are being used. On AWS, it is available, open source, it is available, even we use in our own applications, right? So if an organization loses the data for a certain period of time, they can go back to the historical data to keep an insight of what is happening, to get some, sense of it. However, as soon as the system comes back up, they will be able to receive that data back up through messaging queue protocols, okay? Or messaging queue brokers. Amazon has that service.
Okay.
When you
Thank
are
you.
designing, when you are developing, are you running your own business? Is that something you're doing right now? Working at a startup? Are you working at a startup or this is your own startup?
Partnership like with friend.
Partnership. So when
Yeah.
you are designing a service, a digital service based on providing them messages or providing them, something like MailChimp, email services or whatever, the customer should be given a service that doesn't goes down. So it should be embedded with messaging queue protocol. So when you are, you have the partnership in this, in this startup, think from a perspective, if I have to design this solution and put it on AWS or Azure, this is what I need to do. Okay. That's what I was asking you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let's jump in. So how would a predictive scaling using AI fail in a scenario? I mean, it can fail in a scenario
Yeah.
where traffic patterns are manipulated by DOS botnets, DDoS botnets. So what mitigations can be inferred from the diagram that you have developed in you mentioned, Azure WAF, AWS Shield, all of those kinds of things, right? How can AI fail in this scenario?
Like if AI fail, how I know? This
Okay,
is
let
the
me
question.
let me repeat the question. Okay, predictive scaling. What does predictive scaling means?
Predictive scaling, like on past data, we can predict the future.
Okay, so that's it. So predictive scaling using AI. You're using AI. AI is analyzing your requirements and everything. And what happens is just like, if there is a DDoS attack where traffic patterns are manipulated by the DDoS botnet, what mitigation can be inferred from the diagram that you have presented? You mentioned WAF and all those kind of things in there, like in the last diagram, right? What would you do? How would the AI fail to predict this thing? AI might think, well, first of all, if I give you too much, that will be the answer itself. So explain to me, how would AI can potentially fail in predictive scaling when there's a DDoS attack happening? It's a tough question. How can AI fail? Can AI fail, first of all?
Yeah, definitely. It
Oh, yes, it can fail. Absolutely, yes. If you would have said no, I would have stopped and moved on to the next question. So yes, AI can fail, right? So now, if AI fails, how would AI fail? Like, what is AI doing? First of all, how does AI performs predictive auto scaling?
like AI perform predictive automation like this. If like they on past pattern, they predict the future. Like if there is evening, like I gave the example past in food apps. Like if there is evening, there is a time for dinner. So AI know that at that time traffic spikes. So they automatically scales up at that time. So before the auto scaling pre-warm instances, so automatically scale at that time before the traffic is happening. There's the procedure AI work on that.
In that scenario, how would AI fail in a scenario where traffic patterns are manipulated by DDoS botnets? If you don't know the answer, I can move on.
Okay.
You don't know? So AI could interpret, let's looking at a diagram. AI could interpret malicious spikes as legitimate traffic. AI might think, there's legitimate traffic coming in, leading to over provisioning, and it keeps on provisioning, and your bill is going up. Mitigation involves coupling AI-based scaling with threat intelligence. So if AI can see that these are deformed packets, so these packets are not normal, with threat intelligence from Azure WAF that you have showed in your diagram, Azure Shield, to filter anomalies before scaling triggers. Scaling is happening on triggers.
Yes.
If there are 10 customers, no, there's no need. If there are 11 customers, okay, auto scale.
Auto scale.
If the customer reaches 20, auto scale. I'm giving you an example. It normally happens on hundreds and hundreds, right? That's
Yes,
how
definitely.
it set up the threshold. This
Yep.
is what we do as well. This is auto scaling, the QA. So I'm going to ask you another question and give you a chance, right? When you are doing this kind of auto scaling testing, should you do this kind of auto scaling testing in a production environment or in a test environment?
In a test environment.
Why?
We test it before deployment. Like
Why is it important to test?
you talk about auto scaling.
Yes. I mean, any kind of test, the QA. Why do we do QA in the dev? Why not in production?
Can you repeat questions?
Why do we perform QA, quality assurance testing, all kinds of testing, in this case, predictive auto scaling testing, in development rather or in the stage environment rather than on the production? Why?
Because we have to test before the deployment. Like as you said, if there is manipulating the AI, then we get a lot of bill. So that's why we before implementing we testing the.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Okay. All right. Last question. Okay. Last question. Looking at the diagrams, everything. Name me any one framework for DevSecOps. Any one framework that we use or that you have proposed in your presentation. Any one framework. Anyone.
Shift left security.
Okay. All right, Furqan, your interview is over. Let me compile the results. How was your interview?
Not not good as I expected. Yeah, like
Okay, in your presentation, Bismillah, in your presentation, you scored 21 out of 25. It was a good presentation. I'm always looking for shorter presentation that packs a lot of punch. It explains all the concepts. It provides enough information for the reader to understand what the presenter is trying to communicate. That was a good one. Okay. Uh, Obviously, we look at multiple factors, the usage of AI, the communication skills, the presentation skills. This is all good. Good, alhamdulillah. Okay. In your
Yeah.
Q&A, you scored 19.5 out of 25. Good score.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All right. So altogether, it's 21 plus 19.5. I'm going to compile these results and put over there on the portal. You scored, mashallah, 81%. That's a merit. That's a merit. It's not distinction, it's a merit. It's good. This is good. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Now, this is my recommendation for you. Go and do the labs. Al-Razak Part 1 and Al-Razak Part 2. Have you completed the KYC process?
Yes, I have access of Al Razak Lab. I complete KYC process.
Have you started doing the Al-Razak Part 1 with the AI assistance and everything?
No, I didn't start.
Please go and start it. When did you started your diploma? How was your journey started with Nafi? When?
Like in 2020, like 2022, 2000.
Came to us in 2022, and now this is 2025. Which month of 2022?
Mm, I didn't remember exact one. I have very low.
Okay, work on your memory retention. This is very important, okay? All
Yes,
right. You based in where? Like which city?
Karachi.
Oh, so when I was in Karachi, you should have come and meet me.
Definitely, I have.
You were there when I was there?
Yes, I
Um,
like at you have seminar at that time, so I will attend.
Which one? Like when I was there recently or long ago?
And long about like last year, I think.
That was in one of the libraries or at the Behri Auditorium?
Barry Auditorium. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay, okay. All right, so this is my recommendation for you. Okay, you did well. Al Razak Part 1, it's mandatory for you. Okay, Al Razak Part 2 will enable you, inshallah, to provide you because I need to understand where do you want to go, what do you want to do, all of those kinds of things, right? Because that will open doors for us and for you where you exactly want to go. If on the basis of this, if you want to take admission in master's program, we can assist you with that. Absolutely, yes. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
However, you have to complete your Al Razak program. This is important. For masters, taking masters admission outside, it's not the requirement. But if you want us to provide you sponsorship and everything, you have to complete the requirements. Secure distinction, yes, you did. MCQs, complete, you completed that. Third part is basically LinkedIn courses and communication courses, you complete that. Completion of Al Razak Part 1 and Part 2. It's not that difficult. You still have time. When is your subscription expiring?
So very like it's near very like 1 month, like I think.
Has it been 18 months since you
Yes,
started
so
your?
yeah, yeah, like 17 months. I am on 17 months. Like yeah, last year I started this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yes, I have regret, but now
You
what?
still have to then renew renew the subscription on a month-to-month basis, quarterly, whatever, and complete the Al Razak labs because it's going to take you time to complete the Al Razak labs, right? You have to complete those labs. Those are very important for you. Very, very, because are you planning to go outside of Pakistan?
Yeah, if I get good opportunity, definitely I will.
You will have the opportunity. We can sponsor you with the bank statements and everything. The remaining you can pay the fee and then you can plan to go outside, right? Right now, UK is a big market. Canada is a huge market. Australia, New Zealand, these are the four English speaking countries, Germany, France, Japan, all of these countries, the Scandinavian countries, the Nordic countries. But before you go, complete Al Razak Part 1, complete Al Razak Part 2, become QB astronaut as a bare minimum. And you can become that, inshallah. That's not that
Inshallah,
you can, inshallah, okay?
inshallah,
Because the labs that we have provided will cover everything, inshallah, for you. Okay?
inshallah.
All right. Jazakallah khair for your time. Do you have any questions for me?
For related to Al Razak Labs, can I or I? with contact to support.
You can ask some of the questions for me right now, but the support will be able to answer most of the questions.
Okay.
Okay, so as long as your subscription is active, you can do the Al Razak Lab, right? If you would have left, like normally when a person pays 1 year of subscription fee, the fee, right? Then they get extra 6 months, right? You are
Yes.
already past that. You're already about to complete it. My recommendation to you is go and complete it, because even after completing Al Razak Part 1, you will get access to the resume, the first draft of the resume. On Part 2, that's Part 1. On Part 2, you will get more customized labs. In Part 1, those are just beginners labs. In Part 2, intermediate labs, advanced labs, challenge labs, interview question preparation, all of those things. That will take you to the next level, inshallah. Okay. All right.
Sure.
Jazakallah khair for your time.
Thank
Ask
you.
your parents to make special dua for me, inshallah.
Yes,
Okay,
I pray for you.
when I'm next time I'm there, I will let you know.
Yes.
But you have completed your diploma and you have secured merit, mashallah. Okay.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah.
Barakallah feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.